Well, hello and welcome to another Voyage of Empowerment teaser series where we feature some of our exciting experts and speakers for Empowerment Week, which is right around the corner. And we're super excited to have you meet some of our speakers for this year's conference and convention. And as we normally do, just a quick reminder, empowerment, guess who that starts with? That thing that's called a mirror. It starts with you. And it's up to you to take the impact and leverage your differences by first knowing yourself. We really want you all to think about how you can take this empowerment self-assessment form, download the questionnaire, and access empowerment for you, because it all starts with you, and you have to do some deep dive look into your emotional intelligence to decipher where you are on this existence of being empowered or disempowered. This will lead you to step two, knowing others. And that's why we do events with other people, because it gives you all an opportunity to connect with people in our network at Empowering Differences, but also others, and to hear the exciting things that they're doing to impact other people in the world. And I'll tell you, you know what? It all comes down to building strategy at the end of the day. Did you make an impact for others? And that is whether or not you have developed your strategy. And developing your strategy is taking our digital empowerment assessment platform that recognizes whether you are disempowered or empowered. By putting a numeric value on your empowerment, will then be able to recognize what are the leadership actions you should do to drive empowerment for your differences. And your empowering differences it happens through the empowering actions, which is the fourth and final step in the 4 steps. These actions live at the intersection of empowerment with the corresponding action, recognizing that you have to recognize what is the authority from the action, how is it affecting people on a personal level, what is the power from this action that you do, meaning what is the actual measured impact, and who are the people you're connecting it to. Because at the end of the day, if you do not connect your empowerment to people, then you're only empowering yourself, and that's not a good place to be. And this is why we wanted to have a conference to introduce you all to amazing guest speakers and people who are impacting others. So without further ado, George, what's going on? How are you?
Good, Ashley. It's good to see you. Looking forward to seeing you in New York. Can't wait to kick off Empowerment Week, and excited to meet the fellow attendees of the conference.
I know we have quite a lineup. There's more than 20 world-class speakers and guest experts, panelists, solo presenters, and I'm super excited that you're going to be one of our solo presenters for the conference. But can you tell our live stream audience a little bit more about Infinity Partnerships?
Yeah, definitely. So Infinity Partnerships was founded about a year and a half ago. My business partner and I saw a gap in the market, specifically with regard to how brands are able to reach multicultural audiences. We began to notice, just even before these high profile controversies hit the press, just a complete lack of authenticity with how brands were speaking to consumers, a lack of awareness of the multidimensional nature of consumers. So if you're LGBTQ, you're not only LGBTQ 1 month out of the year. If you are African American, that's not just 1 month out of the year. So that's how we got started, and we, began to work with brands like Ebony Magazine and Jet. So they were going through a renaissance and a new ownership, and we just kind of kicked it off that way. And we separately noticed that post-pandemic, or even in the pandemic, there was a increasing commitment that brands had to investment. So if you look at what the major agencies and holding companies were doing, where they were committing percentages of total budget to multicultural, African American owned, LGBTQ owned. With that said, there was a problem in that authenticity, in our opinion, was lacking in terms of how these brands were speaking to the different consumers. And you see that in the press itself. So what we saw was the Bud Light controversy, we saw the Target controversy, and that had material impact on businesses, specifically when you look at Bud Light. If you look at their ranking in the beer category in the US, they dropped for the first time ever. So, our hypothesis started to come to fruition where there was an opportunity for brands to more authentically speak to individuals with regard to how individuals behave all the time, to essentially treat individuals as human beings. So I just wanted to pull up some stats here because the thinking is that the way that this has been happening has not necessarily been the best. We see it in the previous slide that Ashley pulled through with those controversies. So right now, and this is actually based on recent research that was just pulled. So you have 1 out of 5 Gen Z consumers identifying. We just refreshed this yesterday, so I can vouch for the accuracy. 1 out of 5 Gen Z consumers identify as LGBTQIA. If you look at LGBTQ as a customer segment, that's 1.7 trillion. The reason that I wanted to incorporate Hispanic as well is that folks are not just one thing. You have LGBTQ intersecting with Hispanic. You have LGBTQ trans intersecting with African American. So I wanted to pull up these Hispanic stats too, just so the magnitude of the loss when this is not done properly could be put into context. So this stat I found to be really interesting. So Hispanics in the US account for a huge population, but if you look at the growth of the power of the Hispanic consumer, and you look over the past 10 years, that growth would only be surpassed by India and China if the Hispanics in the US were considered to be their own country. So again, kind of really powerful stats speaking to the fact that things needed to change. So that goes back to why we started the company. The company is a combination of strategic consultancy. We do have technology assets to help brands better bridge this gap, as we like to identify it. But also we are of the opinion that we can't wait for things to happen. So we have been pushing the market to evolve, and we've done certain things like the Black and the Latinx Publisher Summit with Google. We did that in 2023. Out of their headquarters, we did announce a high-profile deal with Ebony Magazine and Jet. So Ebony has new owners, and they are committed to the market and the category being elevated just beyond certain times of the year, just beyond certain days of the year, and that it's not good for the brand or the consumer. So it's a lose-lose. And it's still in its infancy, though. We have major trade events. So the reason I pulled up, and this is Cannes Lions, we have events like Cannes Lions where there are conversations around inclusiveness and the influence that multicultural populations have. But if you look around the makeup of these conferences, the makeup is very homogeneous, and to date, there has been a lack of real conversation. So we started to try to change that. This past Cannes Lions Infinity Partnerships, in partnership with a few other folks, we had a panel in Cannes called Attention versus Action. Is diversity and inclusion actually evolving? This year in particular, there was even less convo happening because I think the brands were really nervous based on the experiences that Target and Bud Light had. But the reality is there doesn't need to be a need to be nervous as long as you do this properly and authentically. So that gets us to the next point. This is evolving, and we're evolving it with good friends like the Voyage of Empowerment. So you see Voyage of Empowerment there. But separately, there's research that we've been putting out with major trade organizations like the Brand Safety Institute that actually are putting metrics behind the good business practice of actually treating individuals as human beings throughout the year, whether those individuals be multicultural, whether those individuals be LGBTQ, and negative consequences. So when that's not the case. So this is a major initiative in terms of video content that we're pushing out to all the advertising community. We're excited about that. Separately, you do have organizations like Curtis Spar. He has Bospar. They're a PR company. They actually did Club Courage in Cannes Lions this past year, which was a gathering place for LGBTQ individuals in this international festival, which previously there wasn't one place for folks to go. And there's some pretty emotional stories that Curtis has from Club Courage, where, as you can imagine, that festival gets folks from around the world, including countries where it may not be legal to be part of the LGBTQ population. So it just underscores the importance of really addressing these problems head on, as opposed to days or dates or times of the year. So I wanted to close with these dates of significance because it is important to have these dates because they remind us and they allow us to be aware of the need to be empathetic, the need to have awareness of history and what's happened in the past, but we can't be beholden to dates themselves. We believe at Infinity Partnerships, and we're moving the conversation forward with friends like Ashley, that this is an ongoing conversation that needs to be happening year round. And we're excited to be partnering with the Voyage of Empowerment to tell you more on board.
Well, thanks. I'm super excited that we are partnering together. George, appreciate you and Infinity Partnerships, and obviously there's so much going on in this world. People have a chance to join in this programming, even though they can't get actually on the ship.
Well, I've never been like on a cruise ship before. I've been on the ferry, Fire Island ferry, and I've been on the Provincetown ferry, but I've never been on a cruise ship.
Yeah. But if people are wanting to come and join us, they can join us for Thursday at Empowerment Week kickoff in Luminary in Manhattan, if they have to be local in Manhattan. But also we are offering virtual passes for people to get a ticket to join the conference virtually. You can just scan the QR code there, and that would take you right to our website where people can book tickets. If you are wondering what is included in the virtual conference, this will probably help the list of all the things. We provide an empowerment kit, which includes the programs and the resources surrounding empowerment. It's pretty exciting. I got a chance to peek through this program, and it's a lot more pages than what it was last year. So I just mean we're doing a good job. And but we also do include the Empowering Differences book, the workbook, and our entire online leadership course enrollment, which is more than 40 hours of professional development content, as well as all the sessions that we're going to be producing live on Zoom. So our Zoom days are Sunday, the 17th, and then the 20th, which is Wednesday, will be live on Zoom. So if you wanted to watch the Voyage of Empowerment, you can do it right from your home, your office, or your couch, depending on wherever you happen to be on Sunday and on Wednesday. And we'll be rocking it. We'll also be recording, so if you don't have a chance to watch all of the sessions live, you'll be able to get access to the recordings when those come out a few weeks after we get back on land. So if you're wanting to go ahead and do that, you can use the special coupon code HALF, and you'll save 50% off of the virtual ticket pass for the conference. And we're excited, right? We're excited about Empowerment Week, obviously coming up, which is on the 14th. If you end up deciding to join us for the virtual conference, the ticket to Empowerment Week in Manhattan on Thursday night is included in your purchase. So we are looking forward to seeing everyone there. And I have to tell you, I'm excited to chat with you a little bit more about the conference. And so you just told everyone that you've never been on a cruise ship. So
yeah, never been on a cruise ship, and never been to anywhere in the Caribbean before. So that's two firsts, and have never been part of. So I'm excited about this conference because Ashley, your work touches elements of importance for advertising, but that intersection has not really been made in the past. And that's what we felt the entire time. So I'm excited to meet other thought leaders in this space who are addressing issues of diversity and inclusion from different perspectives, because I think, again, cognitive diversity is super important. We need to embrace that. Otherwise, we won't move forward.
So we've had some chatter in the chat online, which is kind of exciting. One of our friends on Facebook said that we can't wait. So that might be somebody that's coming on the ship. Looks like My brother even chimed in here, which is kind of exciting.
I did one of these one time, and my mom was like in the audience.
Yeah.
She chimed in.
This one's great. Fantastic framework movement. Power is essential in the right direction to benefit all. Good to see you, CD. Um, so obviously there's a lot happening, and empowerment is always moving amongst all the things that happen in this world. What do you when I say when people say, "Oh, well, that's empowering you,"
Mhm.
what are your first reactions about that word, and what does it really mean to you?
Empowerment. Yeah, I think empowerment. Your tagline itself, empowerment for somebody like me is a interesting concept. First generation from India, parents moved to a very suburban community in Massachusetts, so there was a lack of perceived empowerment for much of my life, including into adulthood. So the ability, and that's why when I saw what you were doing on LinkedIn, we had to, I had to get in touch. The oftentimes empowerment is not one's perception of their own empowerment is not true all of the time,
Hmm.
and there needs to be an understanding that we actually have, you as human beings have the ability to own our empowerment, because otherwise what we're doing is we're letting other people tell us that we cannot feel empowered. This actually relates to previously what we were talking about in terms of how brands communicate with individuals. If you're only being communicated to one day out of the year, if you're a high school student in a part of the country where maybe it's not, you don't see other LGBTQ people, and then you see messaging that is inauthentic, there could be the feeling that you're not empowered, but that's not true. So that's why I think it's actually really important that you do this event, you do this conference, and it's super valuable.
Yeah, thank you. And that obviously you bring up the greatest point is that everybody has their own definition of what empowerment is.
Hmm.
And then that can change every second. That's why, my company is called Empowering Differences, because the differences impact your empowerment every single day. I mean, I know that when I look through all of these differences that we speak
Yep.
on and studied, right, five of them can literally change every second. Yeah, because I know I haven't figured out how to stop aging. So age, right? Our
Yeah,
physical abilities and
if you figure that
attributes.
one out, let me know.
Yeah,
I'd be interested in that.
like when we were in the pre-show, I was scarfing on a sandwich, right? So my attribute of my weight changed. um, and then we're either spending money or earning money every second.
Yeah.
Social economic class changes every second.
Hmm.
We can learn something new every day, and education can change
Yeah.
every second. And
Yeah.
then one of my favorite ones, and this one is the one that I want to ask you about, is language. Because for
Yeah.
marketing and branding and all of those avenues, if you want to influence someone, understanding their language as a whole, not just the
Yeah.
individual words, but the meaning behind it. Can
Yeah.
you talk a little bit about this difference of language and how it impacts the world, especially in the
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And I've had a lot of these conversations specifically in the context of multicultural. So whether multicultural is being defined as Hispanic, that is not one thing. There is Mexico, there's Latin America, there's Afro-Hispanic, right? And the problem is that this language difference is not English versus another language. It is the way that communities communicate that within the umbrella of English that is oftentimes not well understood by brands, and then there's a penalization that happens too. We saw that around the time of the George Floyd murder, and the money that was coming in to support Black-owned businesses, including Black-owned media companies. But there would be cases where on the advertiser block list there would be Black or there would be dope, in which case no money would flow, because before the money could flow, there's a like a barrier being put into that. So I think that's a very simple example of language and the problems there. But then if you go back to the controversies that we were talking about earlier, there is the other problem where you can't just start to have the language at certain times of the year and then forget about that language other times of the year, because then you get folks on both sides of the coin upset. You get your LGBTQ consumers upset, and that could have tremendous brand impacts for you. We can ask Bud Light, or that could just not be good for the empowerment of communities in general. And that's what I feel about that. And separately, what I will say too, to the point of language, is that as we make advancements in technology, and as different causes become important, such as EVs, electric vehicles is a great example, where there is an importance there. But then if you look at inter cities, if you look at vast areas of the country, it's not an accessible option because there's just not the availability of those EV charging stations. So that's a different kind of variant of your question, Ashley, but that's how I would answer
Right.
it.
You bring up a great point. Is like not any one community is a monolith.
Yeah.
There's an intersectionality to every single human on the planet. Right? We all have these differences. Let's pivot our questioning to be more about fun because
Yeah.
never been on a cruise.
Yeah.
So, obviously we're gonna have 5 nights of fun. So hold on one second.
Yeah.
5 fun-filled nights, 5 outfits, 5 dinners with amazing friends, all centered around empowerment. So sign up today for the Voyage of Empowerment.
That's nice. That's actually really that relates to part of the stress I was having earlier today. What to
wear?
How much to pack, and then
Yes.
mixing the conference attire with, because typically when you go on vacation, you have like a certain set of things that you take, right?
Yeah, you have beach attire, right? Because we're
Yeah.
gonna be on the beach.
Yeah.
Snorkel Park Beach Club.
Yeah.
That's a special area reserved.
Yeah.
And then we have the Lanterns of Remembrance of Love event with Feel Swell experiences on the
Mhm.
island.
Yeah.
And then we have 5, right? We have a conference session, right? 2 main plenary sessions. So we have to have some attire for that. But then every night we're going to be doing a dinner somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah. So it reminds me, I always overpack. So I'll go to a 5-day conference and will bring a massive expandable suitcase. And I don't pack for the conference. I tend to just pack everything I own because you don't know. Who knows, right?
You may end up staying there for forever.
Yeah.
My sister, she went on vacation to Virgin Islands, then she ended up moving there.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's funny.
When I was little, I was like, oh wow, that's so cool.
And to your point about fun, it will be really fun to see people in New York. I know you have a great lineup planned, and the city is always great. And it's I lived in New York for 15 years before moving out, not too far away, but I moved out during the pandemic, and I do miss it. It's good to see old friends who still are there, and am definitely looking forward to the Luminary event. You just told me there's another event too that I wasn't aware of. Your event to the Luminary.
I know, yeah. So the precursor event is a partnership that we have with Out Britain, and Out Britain is the British LGBT Chamber of Commerce.
Yeah.
And I volunteer for them as the Minister of Empowerment. So there's that.
Very nice.
It might be the best volunteer title I think anyone's ever gotten. Yeah, so we're pretty excited about that.
Wait,
but
Ashley have some questions that maybe the audience will be interested in. So this conference is part of how big is the actual ship? Because the ship looks huge.
Yeah, it's a full class series ship. It's the, I want to say, Voyager series for Royal Caribbean, and so I want to say that all in, it's like usually somewhere around 2,000 guests.
Oh wow!
Okay. And then we reserve about 50 rooms in that 2,000 guest platform for our.
I was going through the Royal Caribbean app, and I was like, how many decks are on the ship? It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Yeah, there's the steerage level, right? Like from the Titanic, right? And then there's the differentiated experience where the people that are going to be on our ship.
In my head, I was like, what are the safety protocols on any of these ships? It seems
like you have to show up to the muster station when you board and do the video briefing thing to learn about how to operate the life jacket.
Okay. Yeah, again, never having been on a ship like this before, it's like the equivalent of the airplane thing.
Yes. Wait, well, I do have a video for that too. Hold on.
Put on your life jacket and come and join me on the Voyage of Empowerment.
I mean, you just set all these up for me. I had to take that.
I know. You didn't even talk about any of this.
It's just there.
We did not prep. for this.
She has a lot of clips at her fingertips. Just be careful, okay? Whatever you might say,
Yeah.
I might have a video clip for it.
Yeah,
But don't
that's
forget, also, there's rock climbing wall. There's
Yeah.
the flow ride. Have you seen the flow rider?
I was looking at some of the activities. The flow rider looked interesting. The rock climbing wall also looked interesting, but the flow rider seemed like that would be more like up the low intensity, low impact lane. So that looked fun.
Yeah, the flow rider, like you could do it as a boogie board, or you can try to do it as a surfboard.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I was actually in Atlantic City this last weekend, and we went to their water park. They have a brand new state of the art.
Oh wow! Okay.
And they have a flow rider there, which was kind of cool. I was like, oh wow, I'm gonna be with the flow rider.
The image of the thing was somebody surfing, and I thought to myself, that's not going to be me. One time, it reminds me of the time that somebody convinced me to do like a Tough Mudder, which is that crazy thing that has that wall at the end that's curved and you need to do it. And saw everybody doing it. It seemed so easy. They would just go and jump and get over the wall. And then me and my friend, it took us like literally 25 times. I'm like, this could be the flow rider. Maybe boogie board sounds more manageable.
Yeah, the boogie board is definitely way easier, but they even make you watch like the video of how to do it.
How to do it, yeah.
Even the boogie board, because you can bust out really easily.
Well, that kind of leads to also the to your point about, because when you pack, the thing that takes up the most room is footwear usually, right? And then when this is 3 or many different types of footwear depending on the theme of the day.
Yes.
The theme of the hour of the day.
Well, I also pack heels, so there's that.
That's what I was thinking. Like the heels take up more. You can kind of like, maybe you can Lego stack them in a way that is efficient. But do you typically pay like excess baggage?
Let's just say that I have a lot of baggage. You should have seen me, because like I've been moving from city to city, right? And like I have all the stuff for Voyage of Empowerment. Most of the stuff I shipped in advance. To New York.
Well, what Ashley is not telling you is that she actually travels with her production studio too.
Yes, that's one of my 3 suitcases on this journey: the production studio, the books, and then all of clothes and shoes.
And then the shows. That's like the 4th bag that she's not telling us about.
It was just 3 bags. Okay, 3 bags.
The third bag is like when you're at JFK and that huge bag comes out of the thing. That's like actually like 2 bags. Right.
Well, I do 2 large check bags, and then I do the 1 carry-on, and I try to check at the gate, so that way they all just show up together, right? But sometimes they're like, oh no, we can't check. But
I mean, you travel a lot, so isn't it interesting how now there's this like option for planes where you cannot have any bag or personal item? You're like, okay, how does that work? Like if you have this,
swipe your credit card to open the overhead bin.
Yeah.
Yeah, not quite, right? So our time is almost up, but I am excited to see you on Thursday.
I'm excited to see you. We should do this again. We can do round 2.
Yeah, we totally can. And we'll also have to have Amanda on.
Yeah, Amanda's actually in Italy right now.
Right.
We don't need to feel bad for her. My business partner's in Italy, in Capri, so we can all, send her.
And we'll be making her jealous from Bermuda.
From Bermuda, yeah.
Yes. Awesome. No, thank you so much for your time, and thanks for partnering on such an important empowerment journey for people. And we're excited to see. I'm excited to see you in person on Thursday, and then when we sail on Saturday.
Sounds good. Yeah, excited to see you. Thank you for having me, and thank you for including Infinity Partnerships on this journey.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks.